On today's episode, I have a special guest for you, Meredith Ximines Mullings. Meredith has discovered an unconventional way to leverage her nursing skills, knowledge, and expertise, and in doing so has created a profitable business. But the need for her services is greater than Meredith alone can fill, so she is teaching other healthcare professionals how to create a profitable business that can help others, fills a huge need, and provides residual income. You won't want to miss this episode where Meredith shares how she went from being an employee to an entrepreneur. Welcome to the Stay at Home Nurse Podcast. I'm your host, Deanna Cooper Gillingham. For over 25 years, I've strived to use my nurse credentials to find work that fit my lifestyle, whether it was raising my 4 children and 3 fur babies, traveling the world, or moving to Mexico and living on the Caribbean Sea. Sometimes I succeeded, and sometimes I failed, but I always learned from the experience. Now, I want to help you by sharing what worked and what didn't work. There are so many opportunities out there for nurses today. The Stay at Home Nurse Podcast will inspire and equip you to have a nursing career that is meaningful and supports your lifestyle. Now let's get started. Hello, everybody. Today we have a special guest with us today, Meredith Ximines Mullings. Did I pronounce your name right, Meredith?
Close enough.
Okay, I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself and you can tell us how you really pronounce your name.
Well, thank you again for having me. My name is Meredith Ximines Mullings. I've been a nurse since 2005. Wow, 15 years. I kind of feel old now. But I started my nursing career in Jamaica, actually, and I had the privilege of practicing in Canada and several states in the U.S. And just my experience across the different countries really opened my eyes to a lot of problems that I, always thought of possible solutions. And I came across this one particular problem after working as a case manager, and I've decided to explore it further.
Okay, we are so excited to hear about that because you're doing something a little different, something that I would never have even thought of. In fact, I never did actually think of it. But then when I heard about what you were doing, I was like, wow, if I had known about this back when I was a young, when I was living in the States, I guess would be the most appropriate thing. It would have been something I jumped on. So I want you to tell everybody what you are now doing that is using your nursing skills and knowledge and expertise in an unconventional way.
Absolutely. Well, I call it Medicare insurance coordination, while others will refer to it as a health insurance agent. The difference, I would say, I'm bringing my healthcare background, my healthcare skills, my healthcare experience to offer coordination of services for the clients, not just to sign them up in a Medicare plan, but to provide that ongoing education, ongoing engagement services for them. And I think it has been really helpful, my background in healthcare, in helping them to navigate those needs.
Yeah, I would definitely have to agree with you. When I worked for an insurance company, we would get very frustrated because they would sell these insurance plans to these companies, and the salesperson knew nothing about the plan, knew nothing about medical insurance, and knew nothing about why you would want certain benefits, such as a rehab benefit that is really good versus an outpatient rehab benefit that's, and so when I heard what you were doing, I'm like, this solves that problem. And not for for big companies only, but it solves it for the individual. I know my mom recently had to use her healthcare benefit pretty much, like she had $800,000 in expenses. And she only had to pay out less than $5,000. It was ridiculously small. And it was because she had a really good plan. And when I asked her how she got that plan, because she didn't ask me, she said, oh, one of her coworkers at work just told her to get it. And I think that's how a lot of people are finding their health plan when they're going into Medicare. There are no experts that understand insurance and understand healthcare and can help the person find the right product for them. And that's what you do, if I'm not mistaken.
Exactly. That's exactly what I do. So Pretty much, I want to create a solid foundation so people can make informed decisions. And as nurses, at the bedside, we are always talking about informed decision. We want the client to understand. We want them to ask questions. We want to create the most appropriate procedure for them, if that's the case. So it's the same thing in the insurance world. If you don't know what questions to ask, you're not going to ask them. If you don't know what the limitations of certain plans are, you're not going to be able to navigate them. So it's important that people do have that foundation and clearly understand the different cost sharing benefits, the different network restrictions, all the things that really matters when you're seeking healthcare. So it's very important that when I start, let me back up a little bit. So when I start and when I meet with a new client, typically I'll do an assessment, which is almost identical to that assessment that I did at the bedside when we were looking for case management services for them. So you're thinking about their budget, the resources that they have available, family support, the use of DMEs, because all of these are important to see what will be covered depending on the plan that they are enrolled in.
And I'm assuming this is not something that the average insurance agent does for their clients or their prospective clients.
No, absolutely not. I mean, some people will do a partial assessment, but for the most part, it is all about selling.
Right.
It's a lot of just sales. If I can just sell this, and they'll sell the highest plan with the highest commission, not really thinking about the client's financial needs, the client's ability to pay or afford certain services. They just want to make a sale. And another thing that they'll do too is to just bundle to do a sales bundle. So they'll sell someone something that they don't even need just to make a sale. So we're really trying to change that. And the only way we can do it is if we have more healthcare professionals understanding the foundation, the baseline health insurance, so that they can also push for those changes.
So you started doing this and you realized that there was a need for it. And now you are helping other nurses to replicate and do the same thing because you do truly feel that there's a need and you have a passion. You can't do it for everybody. So you want more of you out there so that
Exactly.
so that more people can be helped and get the right insurance for them and not be insurance poor, but have the right insurance that they need for when something does happen. So tell us a little bit about what your program is and how you can help other nurses to do this.
Let me just clarify. So it's not only nurses. We have actually trained social workers. We have trained CNAs. So pretty much the baseline to get into health insurance is just being 18 and older. So you can see,
okay.
So you can see that it's pretty much open for anyone who actually wants to obtain a license. Very fast.
Okay.
It's a very fast career startup, pretty much. So leveraging the healthcare background, healthcare skill is really what's gonna help you to stand out. So because of the real move to make a difference in that space, I offer coaching or training only to healthcare professionals because I want them to come with their experience, whether it's home care, whether it's long-term care, whether it's emergency, whether it's case management. So every single aspect of their experience is actually an advantage to coming into this space because we're encouraging others to provide education in their field of expertise because that's one of the marketing strategies that we discuss in the coaching program.
Okay, so you're helping them to leverage their healthcare background, not necessarily a nursing background, but their healthcare background to do what you're doing in selling insurance, which is not just selling insurance, but it's actually helping the client. And before we get started with how you do this, the reason that I was so excited about this when I first saw what you were doing was it ticks off a lot of boxes for me. as more of a business owner and an entrepreneur now, I'm always looking for different opportunities that I would share with other people who want to do what I'm doing. Because a lot of people want to leave the bedside, they want to do something different. And for me, there's certain boxes that we need to tick off. As nurses, we want to help others. So that's the number one thing. Does this actually help other people? Number two, is there a need for it? Because just because it can help somebody, if there's not a big enough need for it, sometimes you're struggling to find your ideal clients. Does it have residual income? And this is a big one for me, not necessarily for everybody, but I like the idea of residual income, meaning you work once and you're not trading time for dollars. So instead of you saying, I'm going to work on the floor in the hospital for 40 hours this week and I'm making $40 an hour, therefore I bring home this much money, you're saying, I go out and I invest in myself and my clients, and then I will get paid for years to come based on that help that I've given them. And the other thing, which is really interesting about this one, is it leverages other people's money. And it's a concept that a lot of people aren't familiar with, but a lot of people come to me and say that they want to start a case management business and they want to serve people that do not have a lot of money and a lot of resources. So they want to serve people that are very poor and don't have the access that other people have, but the people who don't have money can't pay you. So that's kind of a catch-22. You have found a way around that. You're using the insurance company's money so that you can provide the education that they need to the people who maybe could not afford it otherwise. So those are the boxes that this ticks off for me that make me think this is like a really awesome opportunity. So now I would like to hear from you in how, like, what do you do? How do you do it? Like, what do you do with a nurse or a healthcare professional that comes to you and says, I'm interested in this?
Okay, so if someone wants to get started, we do offer a startup 30 days coaching program. And I've limited that first beginning period to 30 days because once you're motivated and you do have that push, I think it's important to keep it going and meet certain initial goals. Typically, when we started, we were offering 90 days and people would just slow down and not follow through the process. Because, of course, it's a startup. With startup, you're learning new things. So that's important. So one of the things that we do is to help individuals prepare for their state exam. So we do an online meeting where we review different modules from the health insurance or even life and health insurance pre-licensing course. And we discuss that information. We share testing tips and tricks. And so far, we have had 100% pass. Like everyone who actually completed the training and actually sat the exam were successful.
That's awesome. So to start off, they have to get their license to sell insurance in the state that they're in.
Absolutely.
And you help them to do that.
Exactly. So once they pass that test, they get licensed in their state. And just like nursing license, they can actually choose to get licensed in other states without doing an additional exam. So that's one thing. The next step after getting licensed is to get contracted with different carriers or get appointed to sell or to market their products. So that's the next step in line. They have to go through a process of contracting and appointments with the different insurance carriers. And the good thing is that they can start with one, or they can choose to take a leap and do as many as possible. But those are things that we discuss in terms of looking for the plans that are competitive in your area, being able to identify those so that it's an easy sell. You don't want to be telling people about a new plan who nobody knows about. So it's important that you start with the familiar ones that the family, friends, everyone will be sharing. The toughest part is typically the marketing, because we are so used to having a job, job security. Nursing is one. If we are broke, we pick up a second extra shift. So a lot of us, we're not used to the push and the grind and overcoming those obstacles. And that's where I think most of our attention is going now with the coaching. We are doing marketing runs, marketing trials, pretty much, we want to create a network, a nationwide network where we don't stretch ourselves thin to get licensed in multiple states. Because with Medicare, especially if we're targeting the lower income groups, those health plans are usually county specific. So I'm in Central Florida. I really don't want to learn all the plans in New Jersey and Maryland and, Texas and everywhere else. I need to be able to fully know my market, define my market, build network, marketing in my area so that I can help those who are closest to me.
Yes. And I can understand 100% what you're saying about the marketing being the biggest issue. I think with every nurse that I've talked to that wants to start a business, I think that's one of their biggest roadblocks, which is why it's wonderful that you help them and support them with this. You know what's working, what's not working, and you can give them ideas and support and help. And marketing is one of those things that when you get started, what I have found is it's really hard to get started, but then it's kind of like that snowball that goes down the hill and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. As you get known, it gets easier and easier and easier to the point where you actually can't do it all yourself and you have to start bringing on more people to help you because you just can't handle all of the business you're getting. But at the beginning, it seems like, again, we're used to trading dollars or time for dollars. So we go in, we do our 10 hours of work and we come home, we get a paycheck. This, you might put in 10 hours of work and not get that paycheck right away, but the benefit is on the back end, all this time that you're putting into it. And a lot of it is the same with me when I was writing my book. For a year, I would spend hours every week and I didn't get anything in return for it. But then for the last 5 years, I've been making money by not doing anything. So you have to see it as an investment. Marketing is an investment of your time and your money to get the word out there. And it's very doable. And I also like what you said about, you'd like to create a network so that when people understand that this is an option to have a healthcare professional actually help you choose the right plan, that there is somebody in that local area that can help them, because it would be very difficult for you to know every single plan.
Exactly.
And I would venture to say that a lot of the nurses listening here have had somebody come to them, a family member come to them and ask them to help them, it's time for Medicare. What should I do? Should I get a Medicare Advantage plan? Should I go with regular Medicare? And we don't know, because as nurses, we don't understand the insurance aspect of it. But I'll be honest with you, my boyfriend is going to be getting Medicare in December, and we reside technically in Florida, and I'll be calling Meredith to say, okay, which plan do we get? Because I like the fact that she understands both ends of it, and otherwise I would not know where to turn. So I honestly think this is such a needed and wonderful plan, and I love that you actually walk people through it and give them a step-by-step formula of, okay, this is the first thing you need to do, this is the next thing you need to do. So tell me a little bit more about how long have you been doing this, and just a little bit more about what you actually do, like on a daily basis with this type of work.
Okay, so I've been really at it since 2018. I remember being at the bedside one night and I was just overwhelmed, and I asked someone, I need to get out of here. Like, how do I get out? And, she said, you know what, we can, I'll share with you what I'm doing. But of course, she shared something down the life insurance path. And for me, that wasn't something I was passionate about, because I was always in, advocating and searching for resources for clients and everything. So when I started exploring Medicare, I'm like, but this is what I really want to do. I can reach people. I can really make a difference. I was taking everything I was doing as a case manager at the bedside and really targeting the group that needed it most. And the best part was I wasn't doing it reactively. I was being proactive. So these people were not admitted. They were not going through a crisis. They weren't sick, so this is really like a wellness path. So based on that, I decided, let us focus on the educational aspect and outreach. So we started on a daily basis a lot of what we're doing is still marketing or networking. So each time we reach out to different entities, so medical groups, nonprofits, churches, community centers, and we share what we're doing and we ask if we can come in, do an educational piece or whatever it is. So we try to get into doors, so people can actually know what we're doing and know the difference that we're offering as well, which is key. Secondly, we can also, on a daily basis, I do clients outreach. So like today, I have appointments with clients to help them order their over-the-counter supplies or whatever. So a part of it is just helping those who are unable to navigate the resources themselves because, a lot of them have tech issues, not being very savvy. So they do have limitations. So part of it is to really follow them through the process of fully utilizing their plan benefits as well. Another thing that we do is, I've not done this in a while, but I did recently, to sign up to do like a sales event. You can do sales events, you can do educational events. Sale events, you have to register those with CMS and you can literally share whatever plan details with whoever you speak with. There are restrictions on those, so you really have to register in order to do them. Otherwise, most people will do one-on-one appointment where you'll have to obtain what is called a scope of appointment. And you have to say, I agree to sit down with Meredith to discuss my plans. And she's not forcing me to say anything or do anything. So, there are so many barriers that will really impact your bottom line. But it's important to know how to compliantly navigate those so you can do the right thing, say the right thing, and do well for your clients. So it's a lot of moving pieces, but that's the fun of it because you get to be super creative. You get to utilize all your creativeness. And I think I've been so much more creative over the last couple of years than my 13 years at the bedside.
And it's nice because you don't have to ask anybody's permission. You have to play within the rule book, but you don't have to ask anybody's permission because you're not working for the hospital. If you see a patient needs something and you want to be able to help them with it, you can. It's your rules. It's your...
Exactly.
Yeah, I love that. Now, a lot of nurses would like to be able to work from their home. They want to leave the bedside and they want to work from home, from their own home, and kind of create their own hours. Is that something you can do with this type of a business?
Absolutely. And we do have a brick and mortar location because, again, we were providing that engagement service where we had groups meet there monthly. They play games, we had guest speakers, and we just had a good time. But of course, since COVID and the pandemic, we have had to really transition most of our services to being virtual, which is absolutely encouraged by all the insurance carriers. Most of them have improved their platforms where everything can be done online. You can get a telephonic signature, for those who are familiar with DocuSign, you can literally get everything done virtually now. So a lot of agents, they have transitioned completely from work from home. So that is definitely an opportunity. Will it require some additional work on your side? Absolutely, yes. Because we know someone calls and you're not ready to talk with them and you give them the cold shoulders and you hang up. So we're not necessarily used to being rejected, Ari. So that's part of the training. Not everyone will be receptive as much as you have, this exceptional service to offer. They'll feel like they're being sold. So it's important that we learn how to create relationships virtually. We learn how to start those conversations that don't seem salesy, because people want to get the value from what you're doing, not necessarily feel like they are being sold. And even case managers, I've spoken with them and they're like, I mean, I'm offering case management services and these people don't want to talk with me. So,
Yeah, I did have that problem when I did 100% telephonic case management, and you would call people and you'd say, "Hi, my name is," and they wouldn't even they'd hang up on you. They thought you were a telemarketer. So it is definitely something that is a little different for us as nurses. We're used to walking in a room and they're happy to see us. And yes, but I would have to say the majority of people are very, once you can get out that you're a nurse, if you can get them to stay on the line long enough to hear that I'm a nurse and I work with, once they hear you're a nurse, they seem to trust you, because luckily we are one of the most trusted professions. So I think that gives you an edge up over the average insurance agent out there trying to sell. And you talked a lot about networking, and I've actually done episodes on networking and how important your network is. And especially if you're going to start your own business, your network is your net worth. It is really everything. You have to be able to go in to any area, like into a doctor's office, into a community center, and be able to say, I want to be able to speak to your people. This is something really great that I have, and have people trust you. And the bigger your network is, the more people you can impact. And like anything else we talked about, the marketing, it's that snowball effect. Once people start hearing, then they start telling their friends, and then it gets a little bit easier. And I know I belong to a Rotary Club here in Playa, and we are always looking for great speakers to come in and talk. And so if you can get out there and talk about what you do to an organization, the word gets out, and people will soon realize that, oh, there's this nurse that does that.
And you know what else is important? If nurses at the bedside who are coming in contact with these patients, if they can be that source of referral as well. Because, I mean, you have, 3 to 4 days is the average length of stay, in hospitalization. You cannot really solve that client's every need in that time.
Absolutely.
So what if you realize a client cannot afford their medications? I mean, yes, you can give them a coupon, or you can find a way to solve the problem right there. But what is important is the long-term solution. Otherwise, each time they come back, they're going to have the same problem. So part of it is finding out if they qualify for low-income subsidy or extra help. You may not be able to help them to get that done during their visit. And as hospital case managers, you're not going to follow them through the process after discharge either. So if you can refer to say, you know what, Meredith does that, she'll be able to help you submit a Medicaid application. She'll be able to help you apply for extra help. She'll be able to find local coupons or whatever that you can use, or help you apply for a manufacturer's coupon or something. Then that makes a difference with preventing that possible readmission for that person not taking those medicines that were prescribed.
I really love that. And that again shows your heart for the people, because you're trying to help people that may not even be your client or your client yet, but you really, I can tell you have a real heart for helping those people to get what they need. And that's why I believe this is such a wonderful program that you're offering, because you actually help other people to do the same thing. As nurses, we want to help everybody. And insurance is one of the things. When I went from nursing to case management, I had to learn all the insurance principles. And it was so different from what I did at the bedside. At the bedside, I didn't care what kind of insurance they had. If the doctor said, put a Foley in, you put a Foley in. You don't care if they have Medicare, Medicaid, or if they're self-insured, if they have no insurance. And all of a sudden it mattered. And so I had to learn all of this, but it's not hard to learn. I mean, it's not that it's difficult. It's just that we were never taught. If we can learn how to do all the things we do as nurses, we can definitely learn this. And you don't have to be an expert, but you do have to know where the resources are and where to look for the information, which is what you help them to do. So I think we've covered a lot. I like the fact that even if somebody isn't interested in this, they now know that it's out there, and they can let their patients know and their family know that they need to look for somebody who is not just selling them the biggest policy that they can, that's going to get the most residual income for them, but they're going to sell them the policy that they actually need. And I know when we talked before, you had actually said sometimes you tell people they don't even need it, that they're good. Yeah. So you're not out to just make some money.
Exactly. Yep. Absolutely. Money has never been it for me. And that's one thing I thank God for. It has never been about the money. Because if that's your bottom line or baseline, and you're not seeing it coming in fast enough, especially when you're starting up, you're going to get frustrated. You're going to get overwhelmed. The best time to start is when you do have a job. Absolutely. Start when you have a job. Um, do it part-time, do it on your weekends. As nurses, we're blessed. Most of us work 3 days or 4 days, and we do have, enough time off that we can do it. Like I passed my exam while I was working night shift when I had downtime between 3 to 5 or whatever AM, and the sleep would be pulling on my eyes. And I'm like, okay, let me get a few questions answered, and you get it done. So it's not impossible, and it's very simple to get done. The pre-licensing is a breeze. Once you get through the material, you will pass the exam.
Well, I'm very excited to see. I'm hoping some of our listeners will reach out to you and take you up on this, because I would love to see throughout the nation a whole bunch of Merediths out there helping people to find the right insurance. And I would like to see that people, it was one of the saddest things working as a case manager when somebody just had the wrong insurance and it wasn't meeting their needs, and they were paying a lot of money monthly for this insurance and it wasn't doing what they needed it to do. So I'm really excited. I'm so glad that you spent the time talking with me today. And we have in the show notes all the information that you need to get a hold of Meredith. But I would like the listeners to also, if you would let them know how they can get in touch with you.
So I am on social media. You can connect with me just based on my name. Find me on Facebook or LinkedIn. I do also have a business website, which will be posted. It's adventchoiceinsurance.com. And you'll be able to, if you go to the Facebook business page, you'll be able to just see some of the activities and outreach that we do. And also join us in Business Savvy Nurses group, where we'll share all the details and help you to just learn the different parts of marketing, business startup. And remember, you don't have to start it as a business. You can just start it as a side gig or just some additional stream of income, because as Deanna mentioned earlier, you do have the potential to earn active income, residual income, and also by starting a team, you can even get a third source, a stream of income just from this one initiative. So I look forward to connecting with all of you, and together we're going to definitely bridge the gap between healthcare and insurance.
I love that. Thank you. And as always, information's in the show notes. If you can't find the show notes on your podcast player, you can go to thestayathome.nurse.com, click on the podcast tab. You'll see Meredith's beautiful face there. You can click on her podcast and we'll have all of that in those show notes. Thank you again, Meredith. I really appreciate you being with us today.
Thank you so much again for having me.
Bye-bye. Thank you for tuning into this week's episode. I love what Meredith is doing to serve not only her community, but other nurses and healthcare professionals who want to move beyond the bedside and into the freedom of entrepreneurship. Be sure to check out her website and course for more information on how you can tap into this lucrative opportunity. And, as always, we would love it if you would leave a rating and review. And don't forget to hit subscribe so you never miss an episode.